WWE's smartest villain, why Bobby Heenan was untouchable. Heenan controlled wrestling without ever fighting. They didn't cheer when he spoke. They didn't admire him. And they definitely didn't trust him, but they listened because every time he opened his mouth, something unforgettable was about to happen. It wasn't just the insults. It wasn't just the arrogance. It wasn't even the chaos he seemed to drag into every moment. It was something deeper, something controlled, something intentional, because while everyone else in professional wrestling was trying to be seen, he was making sure you felt. He wasn't the biggest man in the room. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't even the one stepping into the ring most nights, but somehow, he controlled everything. His name was Bobby Heenan, and he didn't just manage wrestlers. He controlled the entire emotional rhythm of professional wrestling. In an industry built on giants, superheroes, and unstoppable forces, Bobby Heenan became something far more dangerous than all of them combined. A mind, a strategist, a performer who understood the audience better than the audience understood themselves. Before the arenas were packed, before the cameras followed his every word, before millions of fans knew his voice instantly, he was just trying to find his place. There was no glamorous entry into the business. No instant spotlight. No easy break. He worked wherever he could, learned however he could, watched everything, and most importantly, he paid attention, because Bobby Heenan realized something early that most people inside and outside wrestling never fully grasp. People don't just react to what they see, they react to how something makes them feel, and if you can control that feeling, you can control everything. So while others trained their bodies, he trained his instincts, while others practiced holds. He practiced timing, while others focused on strength. He focused on awareness, and that difference changed everything, because when he finally stepped into the wrestling world, he didn't walk in trying to be a hero. He didn't chase cheers. He didn't try to win people over. He made a decision that most performers are too afraid to make. He chose to be hated, but not the cheap kind, not the easy kind, not the kind that comes from shouting louder or acting bigger. He built something far more powerful, a version of hate that felt real, the kind that made fans lean forward in their seats, the kind that made them talk, argue, react, the kind that made them invest, because Bobby Heenan didn't want indifference, he wanted emotion, and he knew exactly how to get it. First, it was subtle, a comment here, an interruption there, a perfectly timed distraction, but slowly, it grew, because once the audience realized what he was doing, they couldn't ignore it. They didn't just dislike him, they needed to see him fail, and that need, that emotional investment, that's what built his power. Then came the moment where everything shifted. He didn't just become a presence, he became a force, the creation of something that would define his legacy. The Heenan family. It wasn't just a group. It was a statement, a collection of talent that didn't just compete, they dominated, and at the center of it all was Bobby Heenan, not wrestling, not fighting, but controlling, guiding, manipulating every move, every match, every moment. He understood exactly what needed to happen, and more importantly, when it needed to happen, because timing is everything, and Bobby Heenan had perfect timing. When he stood beside Nick Bockwinkel, something unique happened. This wasn't chaos, this wasn't brute force, this was precision. Bockwinkel brought intelligence. Heenan amplified it. Bockwinkel spoke with calm superiority. Heenan turned that into something the audience couldn't stand. Together, they didn't just win matches, they created tension, they created frustration, they created a feeling that the audience couldn't escape. And that feeling, that's what kept people watching, because wrestling, at its core, isn't about wins and losses, it's about anticipation, it's about emotion, it's about the moment right before something happens, when the entire arena is holding its breath. And Bobby Heenan lived in that moment. He controlled it, he stretched it, he delivered it exactly when it mattered most. But what made him different wasn't just what he did. It was how effortlessly he did it, because while everything he created was calculated, it never felt forced. It felt natural, like he wasn't performing at all, like he was simply being himself, and that authenticity made everything more powerful, because deep down, the audience believed him. They believed he was arrogant. They believed he was manipulative. They believed he truly thought he was smarter than everyone watching. And the truth is, he probably did. And that belief, that confidence, that refusal to break character, that's what made him undeniable. As the wrestling world evolved, so did he. New stars emerged, new styles took over, bigger personalities, louder voices, more spectacle. But Bobby Heenan didn't get lost in the noise. He adapted, he sharpened, he found new ways to stay relevant, whether it was standing beside a force of nature like Andre the Giant, or orchestrating moments involving icons like Hulk Hogan. He was always there, not at the center of attention, but controlling it from just outside the spotlight. And then, he did something almost impossible. He stepped away from managing and became something else entirely, a commentator. Now, for most people, that would be a step down, a quieter role, less impact, less influence. But for Bobby Heenan, it became his most powerful position yet, because now, he didn't just influence matches, he influenced how people understood them, sitting at commentary, microphone in hand. He turned every moment into something bigger. He didn't just call what was happening, he reshaped it. He questioned heroes, defended villains, twisted logic so perfectly that for a split second, you found yourself agreeing with him, and then immediately, realizing you shouldn't. He made you laugh, then made you uncomfortable for laughing. He blurred the line between entertainment and manipulation, and that's where his genius truly lived, because Bobby Heenan understood something that even today, many performers miss. The audience doesn't just want action. They want perspective. They want to feel like they're part of the experience. And he gave them that. Every joke, every insult, every perfectly timed reaction. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was designed, built on years of understanding what works and why it works, even in chaos. He was in control, even in humor. He was precise, even when it looked like he was just having fun. He was executing, and that's what separated him from everyone else, because anyone can shout, anyone can insult, anyone can try to get attention, but very few can hold it, very few can guide it, very few can control it. And Bobby Heenan didn't just control it, he mastered it. But like every great era, change is inevitable. The industry grew louder, faster, more explosive, moments became bigger, spectacle became everything. And in that kind of environment, subtlety can get lost, precision can be overlooked, intelligence can be drowned out, but never erased, because even as the noise increased, his influence remained, quietly, consistently, powerfully. You could hear it in the next generation. In every sarcastic commentator who added more than just description. In every manager who understood that presence matters more than volume. In every performer who realized that reaction is more important than recognition, that legacy, that blueprint. It all traces back to one man. Bobby Heenan didn't need championships. He didn't need main events. He didn't need to stand tall at the end of the night, because he was already winning. Every time the audience reacted, every time they booed, every time they leaned forward just a little bit more, every time they cared, because that's what this was always about. Not the moves, not the outcomes, but the emotion. And Bobby Heenan understood emotion better than anyone who ever stepped into the business. He didn't just create moments, he created reactions. He didn't just tell stories, he made people feel them. And long after the matches ended, long after the arenas emptied, long after the noise faded, those feelings stayed. That's the difference. That's the legacy. That's why even now, you don't just remember Bobby Heenan, you react to him, because in a world full of performers trying to be bigger, louder, more unforgettable, he found a different way. He didn't overpower the audience. He didn't chase them. He didn't demand their attention. He earned it, then controlled it, and in doing so, he proved something that still defines wrestling to this day. You don't need to be the strongest to be the most powerful. You don't need to be in the ring to control the fight, and you don't need to be loved to be unforgettable, because in the end, Bobby Heenan didn't just play the role of a villain. He redefined what a villain could be. Not just a threat, not just an obstacle, but the mind behind everything, and whether people realized it at the time or not, He wasn't just part of wrestling. He was shaping it, every word, every moment, every reaction, perfectly timed, perfectly executed, perfectly understood. And that's why, no matter how loud the industry becomes, no matter how much it changes, no matter how many stars rise and fall, there will never be another quite like him, because Bobby Heenan didn't just understand wrestling, he understood people. And once you understand that, you don't just entertain the audience, you control them.